Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Divide into paragraphs, as of text. This story is well paragraphed. One of several distinct subdivisions of a text intended to separate ideas. The beginning is usually marked by a new indented line. Write about in a paragraph. All her friends were paragraphed in last Monday's paper. Write paragraphs. Work as a paragrapher. Treat differently on the basis of sex or race. Act as a barrier between. Stand between. Have the connection undone, having become separate. Arrange or order by classes or categories. Become separated into pieces or fragments. Separate into parts or portions. Discontinue an association or relation. Go different ways. The couple separated after 25 years of marriage. Force, take, or pull apart. He separated the fighting children. Divide into two or more branches so as to form a fork. Make a division or separation. Go one's own way. Move apart. The friends separated after the party. Standing apart. Not attached to or supported by anything. A house with a separate garage. Mark as different. Come apart. The two pieces that we had glued separated. A separately printed article that originally appeared in a larger publication. A garment that can be purchased separately and worn in combinations with other garments. Divide into components or constituents. Independent. Not united or joint. A problem consisting of two separate issues. Separated according to race, sex, class, or religion. Separate but equal. Become separated into pieces or fragments. Separate into parts or portions. Discontinue an association or relation. Go different ways. My friend and I split up. Get a divorce. Formally terminate a marriage. An increase in the number of outstanding shares of a corporation without changing the shareholders' equity. Separate into parts or portions. Separate into parts or portions. Perform a division. Can you divide 49 by 7? Act as a barrier between. Stand between. The mountain range divides the two countries. Separate into parts or portions. Divide the cake into 3 equal parts. Force, take, or pull apart. A ridge of land that separates two adjacent river systems. Make a division or separation. Come apart. A serious disagreement between two groups of people, typically producing tension or hostility. Having been divided. Having the unity destroyed. A split group. Separate into parts or portions. Discontinue an association or relation. Go different ways. My friend and I split up. Separate or cut with a tool, such as a sharp instrument. An opening made forcibly as by pulling apart. An increase in the number of outstanding shares of a corporation without changing the shareholders' equity. They announced a 2-for-1 split of the common stock. The act of rending or ripping or splitting something. Division of a group into opposing factions. Go one's own way. Move apart. Come open suddenly and violently, as if from internal pressure. A bottle containing half the usual amount. A dessert of sliced fruit and ice cream covered with whipped cream and cherries and nuts. A lengthwise crack in wood. He inserted the wedge into a split in the log. An old Croatian city on the Adriatic Sea. A promised or claimed share of loot or money. He demanded his split before they disbanded. Especially of wood, cut or ripped longitudinally with the grain. We bought split logs for the fireplace. Extending the legs at right angles to the trunk, one in front and the other in back. 10-pin bowling. A divided formation of pins left standing after the first bowl. He was winning until he got a split in the 10th frame. The work of a writer. Anything expressed in letters of the alphabet, especially when considered from the point of view of style and effect. That editorial was a fine piece of writing. The work of a writer. Anything expressed in letters of the alphabet, especially when considered from the point of view of style and effect. The work of a writer. Anything expressed in letters of the alphabet, especially when considered from the point of view of style and effect. The writing in her novels is excellent. The act of creating written works. Writing was a form of therapy for him. The activity of putting something in written form. She did the thinking while he did the writing. Letters are symbols that are written or imprinted on a surface to represent the sounds or words of a language. He turned the paper over so the writing wouldn't show. Usually plural, the collected work of an author. The idea occurs with increasing frequency in Hemingway's writings. A correctional institution for those convicted of major crimes. Produce a literary work. A portable enclosure in which babies may be left to play. An enclosure for confining livestock. A writing implement with a point from which ink flows. Female swan. Make up plans or basic details for. Produce a literary work. She composed a poem. Put together out of existing material. Write music. Beethoven composed 9 symphonies. Calm, someone, especially oneself, make quiet. She had to compose herself before she could reply to this terrible insult. Form the substance of. Greed and ambition composed his personality. Produce a literary work. Communicate, with, in writing. Produce a literary work. Write or name the letters that comprise the conventionally accepted form of a word or part of a word. Write music. Record data on a computer. Communicate or express by writing. Create code. Write a computer program. She writes code faster than anybody else. Mark or trace on a surface. A book prepared for use in schools or colleges. His economics textbook is in its 10th edition. The words of something written. There were more than 1,000 words of text. A passage from the Bible that is used as the subject of a sermon. The preacher chose a text from Psalms to introduce his sermon. The main body of a written work, as distinct from illustrations or footnotes, etc. Pictures made the text easier to understand. The words of something written. The act of creating written works. The act of initiating a new idea or theory or writing. The authorship of the theory is disputed. The act of creating written works. It was a matter of disputed authorship. An essay, especially one written as an assignment. He got an A on his composition. Art and technique of printing with movable type. A musical work that has been created. The composition is written in 4 movements. The spatial property resulting from the arrangement of parts in relation to each other and to the whole. Harmonious composition is essential in a serious work of art. The way in which someone or something is composed. The act of creating written works. Musical creation. A mixture of ingredients. Something that is created by arranging several things to form a unified whole. He envied the composition of their faculty.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.